No more hiding away, everybody. Come on in. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Shannon Dowsing, I'm the founder of Rangai. We've just opened up. We've, actually I should start with the formalities, shouldn't I? Stick to tikanga. I'm not a religious man, so instead of saying a karakia this evening, I'll give you some of the spiritual guidance that we use for our business. So we believe in the people here. So everything that we refer to in our business plan starts with he aha te mea nui o te ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? It is the people, it is the people, it is the people. We reflect on that every day. We reflected on that when we wrote the kaupapa for the business. We reflected on it when we started inviting people this evening. And so, thank you all for coming, and importantly, thank you for taking the opportunity to listen to some amazing people in the industry, our guest speakers tonight, who can share their experiences and tell you why it's an incredible place to be. It's so much fun to be in production. It takes you around the world. It allows you opportunities to work with not just technology, but with people, with places, with any part of this world that you're interested in. So to give you a little bit of an introduction about what Rangai is a educator first and foremost. We are partnered with EIT. We support delivery of their screen production diploma through to the Bachelor of Creative Practice, as well as a certificate course starting in July this year for those who don't have university entry. We are unique in New Zealand in that what we do here is Rangai pays our students. So you can come and get a degree here and earn while you learn. And we do that through transitioning students from, instead of working on student projects, they have the opportunity to work on commercial projects. So my company, Target 3D, has partners around the globe. So Target 3D has studios in, 2 studios in London and 1 in Spain. And we work directly with them to get to do post-production work in New Zealand, as well as them post-producing the work that we'll produce here. So that we've got a 24-hour workflow, but it means that we'll have seats full of people in there working on international projects, and we intend those seats to be full of our students, not to be full of people from out of town who already have these skills. And beyond that, when I tell you that Rangai is about the people, we take care of the pastoral care of our students. We are interested in their journey from the first day they start education with us to when they graduate, and we see that through by documenting all of the work that you do while you're at Rangai and creating a commercial portfolio of work that you've done. And we then take that commercial portfolio and help you by doing by supporting you into roles in the industry. So we'll do recruitment services as you graduate, and make sure that you don't spend 3 years just to come out the other end and then go packing shelves. We want to make sure that everybody that graduates has the opportunity to work in a career, and we've got, as I say, a global studio network that will support that, as well as a lot of partners and friends, and particularly some amazing people in region who you'd be surprised at the calibre of. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, and it's going to be, so I'm going to bring Rory forward. Rory is going to tell you about some of his favourite moments in the production industry, and then And then you guys will have an opportunity for some questions. I'll give you a mic, just because we're live streaming.
It is going live, is it?
It is, yeah.
All right, cool. Good, everyone. My name's Rory. I grew up here in Gisborne in Kaiti. Went to Kaiti School, Ilminster, on to Campion. I have worked here in radio. Alt FM was an old radio station that we had here. Rhythm and Vines events and different bands and things. And I always had a bit of a passion for storytelling. A friend of mine, Ben Cowper, at the back here, we used to make home movies when we were younger. Back in like 98 and 97. Lots of fun, and I never thought of taking it seriously as a career. But then I travelled overseas and got an understanding of what was going on in the world. And Kiwis have a really good reputation for work overseas, not just as strong workers, but also as storytellers. And so I thought, well, maybe there's some way that I could use those skills as a storyteller through filmmaking. Bit of Kiwi ingenuity, and just picked up a camera and taught myself, really, and learned about what makes an interesting story, how do you engage people, and how can I make money from that. And so now I'm a commercial film director in Dubai. I've run campaigns for Abu Dhabi Tourism, which have had like 130 million hits. I've travelled the world to 56 different countries, and it's all through work. I love my job, and it's great to be back here in Gisborne and to see all you guys interested in a career in film. And all I can say is, if you want to do it, it's actually really easy. It's really easy. All you guys need to do is just actually do it. Cheers. Come on back, Shannon.
Rory, as you mentioned, works internationally. Have you guys got any questions for him? He's a well-travelled man. Have any of you considered working in the production industry before, actually? Anyone? Yeah, with some hands at the front.
Go for it.
What's your favourite place?
Yeah. Let me give you this. It won't come through the speakers, but people will be able to hear you online. Okay.
What was your favourite place in the world to film?
In the world to film? One of my favourite places in terms of the impact that I made from being a filmmaker there was in Colombia. So I was there filming for a prize called the Zayed Sustainability Prize, and they have different people around the world who apply with a concept to do with sustainability, and all of the finalists, we go and film them. One of the finalists was a school in Colombia, and so we went there, and the leader of the project was a 17-year-old girl, and while interviewing her, it came out that all of her brothers had been to university and her father didn't have any money for her to go to university. While we were filming her, I got her to explain the project to the governor of the state, and he was so impressed with her idea for her sustainability prize that he said to her, well, what are you doing next year? You're going to be great at university. And she said, I can't go, I can't afford it. And so the governor right then and there said, give me a paper with my name on it, header, and I'll say to any university that you want to go to, you've got a full scholarship. And that was just from me being there to facilitate that moment. So as a filmmaker, it's not just about telling stories, it's about being involved and impacting other people's lives as well. You get a lot of good feeling out of it. Yeah.
Any other questions? Did you ever have any... Wait a second, wait for the mic, Jonathan. You know better than that.
Did you ever have any moments after deciding to go and film and go, oh man, what have I done? And why are you still in it?
Yeah. So in film, we talk a lot about motivation. So, for instance, why would the camera move from this point to that point? What is the motivation for it to do that? How does that impact the story? And I look at myself like, what is my motivation for moving throughout my career, and why do I want to continue to do this, because there are times where I will make a film and I'll put all of my heart and everything into it, and you know, it'll flop. It'll have like 500 views or something. And then there are some where I work on it and then kind of forget about it, and then, hello, a couple of days later, it's had like 5 million views. And so it's finding that motivation. Is it about the views, or is it about the personal impact that it has on me and my own growth? Like, what do I want to do better? Because you're always known for your last project. Yeah. Why are you guys interested in film? Anyone interested in film production?
Yeah. What's your
motivation?
Yeah, what's your motivation? What part of film do you want to be involved in?
Oh, I'm interested in screenplay writing and writing in the film medium.
So yeah.
Where did you get your inspiration for that?
I took up a lot of creative writing in classes, and then I started having ideas about projects, and one of which came out of a bit of a weird dream I had, and I looked at a bit of other inspiration, and then relied on a lot of film techniques. So I started working on that, and I realized partway through that would only work as a film production.
Yeah. Yeah. I work with a lot of copywriters for advertising, not so much for like screenplays and so on. But with the ones that I have met, I often find it's great for a screenplay writer to immerse themselves into social situations that are a little bit outside your comfort zone, because by doing that, you'll meet different characters that you wouldn't often associate yourself with. By staying in your comfort zone, you're almost in an echo chamber, right? Going outside your comfort zone, you'll meet somebody, say like a nihilist, or someone who's really shy, who wouldn't necessarily be in your social group, but by getting out there, those interesting characters will help to drive your story.
Yeah.
Who or what is your biggest inspiration?
There's a movie that I keep referring back to. It's not necessarily my favorite movie, but it's a movie that whenever someone asks me what's my favorite movie, I refer back to it to say, I can't just say what's my favorite movie. I've always got a list off my top 5. And the movie's called High Fidelity with John Cusack and Jack Black. And so who inspired me is like a number of people. You know, you got local talent like Taika Waititi, through to Wes Anderson's one of my favorite directors. And then there are like music videos that I grew up with in my youth that I find inspiration from. There are different websites that you can go onto and subscribe to see what the latest advertising trends and things are going on. And so, yeah, I find inspiration that way. I find inspiration being back here in Gisborne because it's so different. It's this great energy here. It's so unique. Yeah.
I guess it's a good segue actually to talk a little bit more about what the course involves. Thank you very much, and take the floor again.
If any of you guys want to have a chat later, I'll be around.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We only have 2 speakers tonight, so we're not taking up all your time with standing in front of you. We're available for one-on-ones afterwards. So we've got Tom in the control room there, Jonathan wearing the motion capture suit, Matt, who'll speak next, Rory and myself. Come and talk to us about production, what we're doing here, and you've got every opportunity to find out more. So the course that we're offering from the diploma through to the bachelor's is quite broad in a sense. You come into the first year and it's screen production diploma, and you learn all of the facets of screen production So it's not just standing behind a camera or standing in front of a camera. It's screenwriting as well. It's really the opportunity to create your craft, and then you go through to the diploma of the Bachelor of Creative Practice, which is where you hone your craft and refine what you do and find your pathway into the career that you want. And so what we've done at Rangai to assist that is that we've gone and raised the level of equipment and the level of technology that the students have the opportunity to work with. So in the Taradale campus, for example, they have very few high quality cameras. They have very few alternative sort of tools at their disposal. Whereas our company is primarily a motion capture studio abroad, which means that we do the performance capture that you see to create characters like Gollum or King Kong or whoever it might be, as well as a virtual production studio. So our virtual production's been pioneered mostly, I think the best known show at the moment would be The Mandalorian. If you go back and watch The Mandalorian, which is a Star Wars spin-off, think to yourself while you're watching it that actually they never go out out into the world and film that. They do it all within a studio. So they stand in a room that's covered in screens and project the background behind the actor, and it's all captured in camera, and you get this virtual background running the entire time. So we can mimic that here with a green screen instead of using the LCD.
Called a volume.
What's that?
Called a volume.
It is called a volume, and the purpose of it is that you can essentially create an entire world and adjust it on the fly, and get an entire movie, an entire TV series, an entire whatever you like done in a studio. To support this, because we understand that we've got a limited number of people we can work with in region in the short term, so we expand the amount of work we can do by getting the students to work with us. As well as that, we really want this site to be active, so we've decided that we'll have a whole host of high-end PCs. What can they do when we're not using them? So we're basically an education and commercial studio from 9 till 3 during the day, and then in the evenings we're going to be opening an esports hub in the back here, which uses all of our high-end PCs, and we'll be basically running different games each night. And then on the weekends we're going to run a regional league. So we'll have an esports league that runs out of here, and we'll have a tournament format that is set up in the studio and live streamed as a professional tournament every week, basically every Saturday. So if you're into gaming, there's another reason to be involved. Every day of the week we'll be basically running gaming out of the other room here. I'll move on and bring Matt on if you want to come forward. I'll let him do his own introduction because he knows it far better than I do. But nice to see you again.
Hey, Shannon. Kia ora, everybody. My name's Matt Long. When Shannon asked me to come and talk tonight, he didn't tell me there's going to be any cameras, so I'm used to being behind the cameras, not in front of the cameras, but anyhow. Much like Rory, I grew up here in Tairāwhiti, up the coast, Tokomaru Bay, and went to school, Gizzy Boys, and managed to fail school certificate mathematics twice before going on to Lincoln to study agriculture, and then going shepherding for a couple of years back up the coast, which is a very natural segue into the film industry. So whatever, it's never too late to get in there. But I think I was quite lucky. I had it was through nepotism, which is sort of means that you get in there through somebody in your family. So I had an uncle who still is a cinematographer, and he was basically a cinematographer for fellow that you might have heard of, Peter Jackson. And so that was before he was Sir Peter Jackson. And anyway, he was working on this particular film, and a person called a grip broke their leg on this film, or it was actually a grip assistant, and so they needed a grip assistant for a 6-week stint. And it was the middle of the winter on this farm that I was working on. I asked the boss, it was a bit quiet, and he said, "Yep, no worries, you can have a break for 6 weeks." So I went down and worked on this film for 6 weeks, and basically what a grip assistant does is they just hump gear around the place. But just humping gear around the place, I got paid about 3 times what I'd make in a week on a farm, and the food was heaps better as well, and free. So anyway, I came back to Gizzy and sold my dogs and went back, and I carried on doing that. I moved from grip assisting, and then I went into the lighting department, and I gave that a go for a little while. And then somebody asked me to go and do some work for them in the locations department, which is going out and finding locations. The director goes through the script and they break the script down, and there's all sorts of different location requirements, depending on what the script is, obviously. And then somebody's got to go out and find those locations, photograph lots of different options, and negotiate with the owners of that land or those buildings, some sort of a contract to let a film crew come and take over that space. So I learned how to do that. And then I actually ended up doing a little bit of casting work as well, which I sort of drifted into more of the production type of area. And I learned a little bit about contracting in the casting area as well. And so this was all working on movies. And then, so what really sort of happens in the film industry is it's predominantly a freelance industry. The bulk of the people who work in the film industry are freelancers, which means that you work for yourself, and you go out there and you line yourself up in whatever area of the film industry it is that you want to work in. And really, you name a job, whatever it is, you can find that job in the film industry. It doesn't matter whether you're interested in catering or fashion or sitting in a dark room working on a computer or being out in the hills taking photographs. All those roles are in the film industry. And so, yeah, it's a worthwhile industry to think about, because there's something there for everybody. And usually there's a whole lot of people in there that kind of don't really fit anywhere else in the world. They sort of think, I don't know what else I really want to do, or what other industry I sort of think I might fit into. But yeah, you'll find a place in the film industry. They take all sorts. And then I kept working in that film sort of sector until I was in my late 20s, and then all of a sudden I fell into the commercial world, and I very quickly sort of got quite involved in the commercial world, because I really enjoyed it. Because rather than taking 6 months where you spend on a film as a production person, sometimes you can spend longer, but that was the sort of time I was spending on it. If you're a technician on a film, you might only be on there for 6, 8, 10 weeks, and then you're on to the next project. But in production, we're sort of spending 6 months. And that was a long time for me. And I'm working on these commercials. They might only be 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week of filming. And they were quite intense sort of bursts. And you'd be all over the place. You could be, well, at that time I was still working in New Zealand, but you could be anywhere. You might be down in the bottom of the South Island or top of the North Island or wherever. And then I got to go on a few international jobs working in commercials, and I thought that was pretty choice. So I stayed in that commercial sector, and I became a producer. And then about 18 years ago, I opened my own company called Good Oil, and now we've got offices in Melbourne, and Sydney, and Auckland, and we have a roster of about 20 directors that we represent from across the globe, and they work through our production company. So yeah, that's sort of a bit of an overview. But any questions at this point, or?
No, I don't want to stand up. What's the most famous commercial that you've made, and the movie that you've like been a part of?
The most, well, probably working with Peter Jackson, it probably doesn't get much more famous than that, although this was one of his very early films. He did some films called Meet the Feebles and Brain Dead. So yeah, look those ones up, they're quite choice actually, but yeah, they're pretty old school. And actually, I think it was Brain Dead was sort of like this gory horror movie with sheep, and there's a lot of blood and guts in it. And normally in film, you know, you make up the blood and guts, you know, with special pastes and some colouring and stuff, and that's how they do it. But on that one, we didn't have a very big budget, so we just went to the freezing works and got some blood and guts and used the real deal. So that was my job. But commercials, we were really lucky. Like when we first got going, one of my directors that we have at Good Oil, we were not too long into it, and we got contracted to do a big international job for Visa Card. And that particular job had, we had 007 in that on that job, Pierce Brosnan. And so, I don't know, he was not necessarily everyone's favourite 007, old Pierce, but he was, yeah, he was pretty choice. And so that involved about 2 weeks of filming in Bangkok. And yeah, it was a story about him trying to get across this crowded city in a tuk-tuk and all these stunts that we had to do, and we had to shut down big streets in Bangkok, and yeah, a couple of those stunts went a bit south, but anyway, no one was killed, and yeah. And then after that, actually, they got us back the following year, the same company, Visa Card, got us back the following year, and the next time around it was with Catherine Zeta-Jones. So, you know, yeah, a lot of those celebrities like working in commercials because they get well paid.
I think she did say most famous, and I'm pretty sure I saw on your website you did do something in New Zealand, didn't you? Was that by you guys?
Which
the regional the national tourism ad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we work with lots of different celebrities. I mean, we've just been doing some stuff with Lord lately, which has been pretty choice. We do quite a bit of documentary work still. A couple of years ago, I did a documentary about a group of kids who live in really remote parts of outback Australia, and these kids have kind of like never left these communities ever before. And we took this guy who was a famous marathon runner out to these remote communities, and he worked with these kids over the course of a year to see if he could coach them to run a marathon. And so he sort of worked with these kids over the course of a year, and at the end of that year we took them to New York, and these kids ran the New York Marathon. And so that was a pretty interesting experience. And so a bit like what Rory was saying, you know, you put it out there, you put an idea out there on film, and it's a good way to bring an idea to life. And now, you know, we're a few years on, and now there's over 100 kids have gone through that program of training in these remote areas, and then, you know, following through on this little scholarship and getting a chance to go and run in the New York Marathon. Because, you know, the film sparked something in the imagination of these people, and it also makes noise for government to, you know, to take notice and to then sort of fund these types of things. But I guess, you know, like, I guess the only other thing I was thinking, I was just driving here, is that if you're interested in it, you know, put yourself out there. You know, find a couch to sleep on in Wellington or Auckland, and get yourselves there. Use your contacts. You know, don't be shy to ask people like a Shannon or a Rory or myself. Like, if you're keen, hunt somebody down, get on a couch in Auckland or Wellington, and put yourselves out there to do it for a week or a couple of weeks for nothing. You know, just turn up, like, just that's your holidays. Just go there and ask for some job experience, just some on-site experience, and just hang out and absorb and make coffee and carry sandbags. and see if you like it. Yeah, Rory.
Just to follow on the question of what you're just saying there,
Always the pros,
yeah,
eh?
cheers. How important is an attitude when you're working in the film industry?
Yeah. Well, you've got to you've got to want it. You know, it is a competitive industry. There's lots of people out there that are also after that spot, but it's not just about your school marks or what you look like, or who's or necessarily even the smartest person in the room. It is I think what Rory's saying there. It's your attitude. If you've got a passion for it, you'll go a long way in the film industry. Yeah.
Any questions? All right.
Pretty good.
Pretty
All
good.
right.
You've obviously
Thanks,
nailed
guys.
So now you've heard how two professionals did it. I'll tell you how I got involved in this, because I'm a total amateur. Basically, I went to London after selling hi-fi equipment here. So I sold projectors and TVs, and that was, and I almost predated selling flat TVs. So it was a while ago, and I started working for a company over in London that was a startup, and it was really exciting to me because they had 3D printers, and 3D printing was a fairly new technology, and I was interested in stem cell research and 3D printing and thinking we were going to make body parts and it was going to be, basically science magic. But my role in that company grew to the point where I learnt the nature of business and learnt how to construct deals and sell people's time. And so I naturally got into a producer role, which was more around facilitating the business than it is around doing the business. And so I'm absolutely reliant on people who actually know what they're doing. And Matt's experience in lighting can probably tell me straight away that I probably should have turned on my backlight that's on the floor here. We've spent the best part of 4 weeks running around doing live productions for our football team and getting something wrong every time. And I'm fine with that because the industry has room for a lot more people. I've worked all over the world. I've worked from, so as I say, I kind of started my career in London, but I've worked in Milan, I've worked in Dubai, I've worked in Qatar, I've worked all through Europe, and now I'm getting the opportunity to work back in New Zealand. I've got a couple of other roles here. I'm a district councillor as well. I'm a trustee at Trust Tairāwhiti, who I've got to give a big shout out to because they have absolutely helped us get set up here. And the thing with me is that I want to share the opportunities that I've had with other people. The reality is that it's a well-paid industry. First of all, you don't have to worry about yes, you start at the bottom like in any other role, but when you get to the top, the sky's the limit. So there's no ceiling on production, and depending on your skill and your passion, as Matt said, there's a role for everybody in it. And mine, I'll never be a great filmmaker. I'll never have the craft to sit down and be a screenwriter. But what I can share is my passion for technology and my passion for growing businesses. And in this instance, the business I'm growing is people from our region. It's about not importing a whole bunch of people into our town to work for my company and do the jobs that we have available. It's about training people first and then giving them those jobs. So that's what Rangai is about. We're going to be doing as much as we can over the next few weeks to get this place ready. As I say, we'll have some things coming up soon with esports, so we'll probably send another invite out for anybody who's interested in the esports club. And in particular, if you are interested in esports, talk to Jonathan over here afterwards and give him your name so that we can make sure we reach out and tell you when we're doing our sort of first meeting. So we've got to form the club, have a meeting to do that. And once we've formed the club, it means I can go out and get funding to buy all the computers and all the nice things. It's actually going to be esports and drone racing, I should mention too. So if you like drone racing, we're going to buy some drones and race them in one of the parks here. Yeah. Again, there's so many roles in production. We want to do drone racing because there's a lot of people who are after drone pilots to do chase camera work, and even in this region, there's a lot of people out there for drone pilots to do surveying work on farms and that kind of thing. So there's roles outside of traditional production using these technologies as well. And beyond that, look, we've got some incredible people in this region. Not just my two speakers tonight, but there's an entire production community here that I'm really hoping having a location like this can bring together and create some bigger opportunities in region and offer a lot more roles in town. So if you've got any questions about how to get into the courses, how to get into the esports club, or what else we might have on offer for you or your business, or anything else, then just come and see us afterwards. But yeah, the first intake for students is in July this year, they start, and then if you've got university entry, you can start our level 5 diploma in February next year, so after your last year of high school potentially. And we are a living wage employer, so all of our students will be earning a minimum of 1, but at the moment we're scheduling 2 days per week of at $22.75, I think it'll be at that time. So $22.75 an hour for 2 days a week, which will be cross-credited to your course. So you essentially get your course for free anyway through the government, and then you'll get a little paycheck on the side, so you can not worry about having a student debt when you get out of uni. So yeah, I think that's it from us tonight. Unless anyone's got any questions for me, actually, I'm over in the floor. There we go, one at the back.
Where do you see the future of virtual production?
Oh, that's a hard one because as I mentioned, I'm quite an amateur. So we've got so our virtual production studio in London is Europe's first 5G-enabled R&D facility for virtual production. So our company has always worked really closely with universities, and we are trying to do some global work where we position actors in multiple volumes simultaneously and are able to broadcast them into the same production. So if there's another COVID type event and you've got actors stranded around the world, we'll be able to create a scenario where we can in real time composite actors into the live scenes globally. So it could be that an A-list actor has a volume in their own home instead of ever having to go to a studio, and so they can have a little bubble in their home and do all of their production from their home instead of ever having to go to a set. And so yeah, that's part of what we're working on for virtual production. But for us, we see the need at the moment is driving the technology costs down a bit. It's one thing to put up some ply and paint your walls green. It's another thing to cover them all in TVs and the whole ceiling as well, and sometimes the floor. So it's you're talking more about a couple of $1 million when you do that instead of a few $100,000. But yeah, that's where I see it going. Anything else? Well, thank you, everybody. It's been awesome having you in, and really great to finally present the opportunity that we're giving to the region. If you're interested in signing up for anything we're doing, then let me know. And I think you've all got our web address for sure, because we've emailed you all, I think. But yeah, we'll be around. Thanks very much.